recording.
Oh, good. All right. This is a special meeting of the Princeton Historic Preservation Commission being held electronically via Zoom on May 18th, not May 18th, sorry, on June 28th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place and agenda of this meeting has been noticed by transmitting a copy to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, The Times, Trentonian, and by filing a copy with the Clerk of Princeton, which is posted to the municipal website, www.princetonnj.gov/meetings. Pursuant to Executive Order 107, due to the state of emergency in New Jersey regarding COVID-19 coronavirus, notice that during the declared state of emergency, all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Historic Preservation Commission will be held electronically via Zoom. Such notices have been placed on the official bulletin board in the municipal complex and on the Princeton website and are to be maintained throughout the year. You want to do the roll?
Yes. Ms. Capozzoli? Yes. Ms. Capozzoli?
Yeah, I'm here.
Mr. Endersby?
Yes.
Here.
Ms. Satterfield? Mr. Shore?
Here.
Mr. Shaskin?
Here.
Ms. Campbell? Ms. DeSanzo? Ms. Howard? Mr. Pyle? Oh,
Yes,
Frida?
ma'am.
Oh, Frida, could you unmute so I could hear you?
Here, sorry.
You.
Okay, great. We have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. Elizabeth, do you have any announcements?
I do not have any, Madam Chair. No.
Is she?
I
Is
have
she
no
here?
announcement.
Hey, Elizabeth?
Yes. can you
Oh,
hear-
okay. Okay, got it. Oh, you're fading out a little bit. So we have two sets of minutes, May 17th, 2021. I'm not eligible because that was when my power went out. Does anyone have changes or corrections? Yeah, Elric, David?
Yes, I do. Not a whole lot, but some things have changed since then, and I wanted to correct it. On page 2, section 3, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph, member Endersby. I thought at the time that the Oppenheimers had lived at 89 Olden, and I don't think it's Olden Street, by the way. Isn't that Olden Lane? In any event, I think it should, between Oppenheimers and lived, I'd say may have lived at 89 Olden after Oppenheimer's assuming the director's position. He came, it couldn't have been before, even if he had lived there. So, page 3, the 1, 2, 3, third paragraph, again, starting with me. In the second line, guest Mr. Gildersleeve was adept at adapting architectural styles as opposed to new, but was not necessarily well versed in timber framing. And the next line, it is pleasing, not wonderful, that Fries is emulating the style. Jumping down 3 lines in the sentence starting with buildings have failed. I would say buildings have failed when wind enters through the open sides and confronts sheathed gables. That's where the wind would often push over a building that wasn't well braced. And then finally, 2 paragraphs beyond that, Member Endersby stated the distance between posts is significantly wider than the covered passage. I'd add than the covered passage. That's it for those minutes. from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other changes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes with these changes?
So moved. Second.
Thanks, David. Roger seconded. All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
I can't vote. All right. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, the second set of minutes are from June 7th, which was our last meeting. I did not have changes. Did anyone else have changes?
A few, just two. Page 3.
Okay,
Next to the last paragraph, starting with Adrian. I would say he stated his misgivings that approval of this project has set a precedent, because otherwise you're not quite sure whether he's for it or against it. And I think it was pretty clear that he was against the possibility of this serving as precedent. And then I had a question on page 2. Sorry, going back. Third paragraph, starting with Ron McCoy. On the fourth line, he says he stated this project is considered an historic preservation project. That really doesn't ring true to me, but I don't know how it could be changed. And then down on the paragraph starting with Meredith, third to the fourth to the last line, I don't think it should end Prospect Avenue and originally built at private registry. Wouldn't it be private residences?
yeah, maybe private residences.
And finally, in the page 4, again, starting with member Endersby, I think that's like the 6th or 7th paragraph. Second line, the best architecture, he said, recognizes adverse conditions instead of faces, and makes them elements of a better design, something to that effect. And I could point out a number of different cases from IMP back to Palladio. And that's it from me. And I can send a copy of this
Okay, thank you.
to Elizabeth if you want
To Justin.
to go through. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think since this is all recorded, Justin has the changes there. Any other changes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes
Madam
as corrected? Yes, Elizabeth?
Yeah, just on page 5, under the very last sentence where it says Ms. Kim stated the Prospect Avenue Historic District Court exists in draft form and delineates properties including
Oh,
110.
yeah, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, the thing is happening again where you're fading out.
I'm going to try to take out my earbuds. Can you hear me better?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
So the very last sentence, I'd just like to add onto that where it says including 110, 116 Properties Avenue within this, I guess it was a recommended district, whatever, or the district study.
okay.
Thank you. I'm going to keep those off. They're not working.
All right. Other changes? If not, is there a motion to approve with the changes from Elric and from Elizabeth?
So moved.
Okay, thanks, David. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you very much, Justin.
Oh, boy,
I guess
tell you, it's
we've
looking
got
for me
those
to read
changes,
well-written minutes. This, particularly the second meeting, which was had so much going on, it was simplified in many ways. And Justin, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I think so too. Thanks, Justin. All right, we're moving on to the application of James Harley and Catherine McLennan at 86 Lee Avenue. It's a partial demolition and new addition. Witherspoon Jackson Historic District, Block 1301, lots 8 and 9, Zone R4, 33 HP 2021. And we have seen this at a concept review. So I think you'll probably remember it. Do you guys want to, is everybody here now?
Katie,
Yes, Ed.
is Richard Ryan supposed to come over as well? Is he with your application?
No,
Okay, thank you. So
Madam
just you,
Chair, if I could, is Ms. Clayton, she's here?
yes, Louisa?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, swell. So if I'd like to swear you and the applicants in, that if you raise your right hand, you swear the testimony that you're about to give is truthful.
I do.
I do.
All right, thank you. And I'll also indicate, Madam Chair, that the proof of notice and proof of publication are all in order, and we have jurisdiction this evening. The applicants can begin.
Oh, great. Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming in. Elizabeth sent out a report a few days ago, and Elizabeth, if you could go over your report first, that would be great.
I'm just going to go over it very quick because of my microphone problem again. So the applicant, James Harley and Catherine McLennan, I filed an application pursuant to the Princeton Land Use Code for demolishing a chimney and a one-story rear addition, and for construction of a new two-story rear addition and improvements to the existing house. No variances are required as part of this application. The property site is identified as block 6906, lots 8 and 9 on the Princeton tax map with an address of 86 and 88 Lee Avenue. They are located in the R4 zone of the former Princeton Borough and located on the south side of Lee Avenue. It's almost directly across from Ray Street between John and Bayard Street, with Princeton University's Merwick Stanworth housing immediately to the south. The property lies within a residential neighborhood of the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District of the Municipal Zoning Overlay Map. The applicant, as the chair had mentioned, had come in for 2 concept reviews. One was November 16th, 2020, and the other was April 19th, 2021. The applicant is now returning with their formal application. Both properties lie within type 2 historic districts. As you could see on the package that you received, there are 2 lots. They are both identical in size, each contain about 3,000 square feet, and the lot widths are 30 feet by 100 feet. Lot 9, which is 86 Lee Avenue, is the eastern lot, which contains the house and the outbuilding in the rear. Lot 8, which is with the address 88 Lee, is vacant. According to Weiss Preservation's report, 86 Lee is considered a contributing property within the district. I'm just going to go really quickly to the proposed application. So the addition in the back is approximately 516 square feet, so which is about 13 feet by 19 feet. They originally had an addition on the side elevation, but with the last submission, they decided to remove that. So really the addition is only in the back. It does not extend any wider than the existing building, and it is lower than the existing roof line as well. So it's almost really not visible from the public right of way. The windows on the east and west elevations of the second floor will have 2/2 double hung windows, and the first floor they'll have taller casement windows with transoms. A triple window system will be on the taller windows, casement windows, which are going to be installed on the west elevation. The roof addition will have a combined gabled and hip roof with a metal standing seam roof. There'll be new aluminum gutters and leaders, which will be incorporated to the roofing system. The existing windows on the south, east, and west elevation will remain, except for 2 bedroom windows, which will be replaced, and a kitchen window. The bedroom windows are being replaced to meet the egress requirement according to the building code. They are to match in style with the existing double hung look, although they will be casement windows with a faux check rail. The one window on the first floor east elevation will be replaced with a new casement window for the renovated kitchen design. In addition, below the east elevation of the bedroom window will be a new set of French doors that accesses the side yard. The replacement window dimensions, according to the analysis, are not going to exceed the former borough standards of a 1/4 inch differential. So there's no analysis needed there. So if we just go to the comments, they're pretty simple. Obviously, the rear elevation, HPC is not going to be reviewing that because that is outside the purview and not visible from the public right-of-way. The applicant is commended for their sensitive proportions and positioning of the rear addition in the back. Let's see. Just for HPC's consideration, there have been many applications that have been coming before them where the requests for chimneys have been asked to be removed, really to reconfigure their interior space. Just because I had recently gone to the Historic Preservation Annual Conference, there has been a lot of talk about preserving the foundation and chimney. So that is one question that comment that hasn't come up in the past. If there's a possibility to retain the chimney's appearance from the exterior, if that's possible to remove the interior space so they can still reconfigure it, although perhaps keep it in the attic to maintain its stability so it could still exist on the exterior. And then there are just 3 questions for the applicant, which I will leave to them to address. And that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant. If, I don't know who'd like to, if you Luis is going to speak or the owners?
I think we probably both will, but I am gonna start and maybe get the ball rolling, and then we can fill in from there. But before I started, I wanted to thank the commission very much for a meeting and accommodating this meeting and switching the original date. So I appreciate that very much. We appreciate that. I think I in some ways was prepared to say a lot of what you just reviewed, Elizabeth, but since you described much of it, in summary, we are here. This is the 3rd time we are discussing this project before the commission. The first 2 were concept reviews, which were very helpful as we shaped our final plan, which we have submitted and are reviewing today. And this particular review is intended to address the request to demolish the rear addition, the 1-story addition that Elizabeth described, as well as the chimney, and then also to build a 2-floor rear addition in the back where the existing 1-story addition is currently. It was very helpful to have the commission's comments and recommendations, and I think I can address them really by saying that as far as the question of the chimney and retaining the chimney, that's something that we are comfortable with, and keeping the structure on the roof, and however that is made possible on the interior to accommodate the design plans as well. And then also there was a question about the front door, and wondering if it was possible for us to repair it instead of replace it. And yes, that is something we're very interested in doing. Actually, I did include a picture today, if I can share the screen, if that's something when the committee would like to see it, I can share a picture of the existing door. And
Yeah,
The share
think you have
option is
screening-
available.
sharing
Okay.
powers.
all right, so let's see.
Is it the green one?
It is right here, yep. So, everybody see that?
Great.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
our hope, I mean, we really love the door. Actually, our hope is to strip it of the paint and just have natural wood with a protective finish on the door. And then because it is a single pane piece of glass, we would also want to have a storm door. And I have an image of that door as well. It's an Anderson aluminum door with a single pane of glass. And I opened it up to show, hold on, do you have the image on your, okay. Okay, anyway, I will pull that up to show the committee. If you want to wait one moment, sorry. Okay. Right. So this is the existing storm door here
On the right.
on the right, where you see it, yeah. And then this would be the replacement door that we're proposing. With an aluminum frame, and as Louise has written here, full pane of clear glass to allow a nice view of the existing front door when it's closed, more light into the interior of the home when the front door is open. The exterior finish color of the door will be black to coordinate with the shutters on the front windows, and the hardware will be modern style with a matte black finish. So the hope is to be able to see the original door through the through the glass storm door. And so those were sort of the two issues just that the commission had asked about, both the chimney and the door, and those to us feel clear that those are recommendations that make sense to us and that we can go along with, absolutely, and like the idea of. And then just to move to section 4 of the comments and questions from the committee. A is about the door, and I just showed you the picture. B, confirming that the new French doors do not have simulated divided tiles. And I feel like, Louisa, you might be able to say something more clear about that. And
Right.
we talked,
They,
yeah.
they do in fact have simulated divided lights. So that was included on the product sheet that you have about the Marvin French doors. It's sometimes it's confusing, I think, because the pictures that I can pull off of the Marvin website, that picture doesn't happen to have any divisions in the glass. It's just an example of what the door is from their website, but we do have divisions in the glass. It's 2 wide and 3 high, and those those Montans will have, it's a new door, so it's one big pane of insulated glass, but they do have simulated divisions so that it looks like they're individual pieces of glass. And there's a little thing showing that on the product sheet, the simulated divided light with the
Yeah. So I did see that on there. That's why I was wondering. I didn't know if that was just something that was on the product or if that was something that you were going to incorporate into the door. So thank you.
Okay.
And then the final,
I guess-
yep. What's that?
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay. The final section of question 4, are there any sustainable measures that have been incorporated or considered for the project? And we have them listed as, yes, there is insulation of the exterior walls and the roof. There are going to be new windows with insulated glass and tight air seals, recycled fly ash cement board, siding and trim, LED light fixtures. We're also planning to maintain and restore the existing house instead of tearing it down to build a whole new one. The plan is to have a new energy efficient HVAC system. And that is it. Those are some of them. And Louisa, if there are any more that I'm missing there.
And we are going to remove the chimney on the interior that is not visible, obviously, from outside. And that will just allow us a little bit more freedom to reconfigure the interior space, and we don't have to build such a big addition on the rear. So.
Great. I'm opening it up to commission members if there are questions or comments about the application.
A couple.
Yeah, go ahead, Elric.
It's so minor because it's a good plan, and we appreciate your willingness to work with us on this. My comment is really on the shutters. I presume, are these the existing shutters that you're just leaving in place, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just something that I notice on too many buildings where, because shutters are no longer used very often, they're mounted incorrectly. They're mounted to the outside of the decorative architrave around the windows, and they just strike a false note. And also in this case, I guess there's no median horizontal member between the slats on the top and the bottom. I'm not asking for you to replace the shutters, but I would at least have you consider shifting them in an inch or two so that they relate to the opening, which in real life they would fill. And the other thing is that the little sort of demi shutters up in the gable are obviously not meant to cover that window. And quite honestly, I think they're superfluous. And in a lot of instances, you'll find shutters and blinds basically on the first and second floor of old houses, but not necessarily in the attic. And if it were up to me, I'd remove them. And just one piece of curiosity, I was surprised to see the glass knob on the front door to the exterior. I like the glass knobs, and I assume they exist throughout the house, but generally on the outside, they would have something like brass or some other material. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I love the idea of reusing that door. It's great. And I'll look through, we have a few of the actual bringers where you could turn it and as a doorbell, and I'll see if I can find one that would fit your house.
Great.
That'd be great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll comment later.
Okay, so I have a small comment. I noticed your lighting, exterior lighting, actually really attractive. But I noticed that you have lighting on all of your elevations except the north, which is the front of the house. Are you planning on putting any lighting in the front of the house?
So Frida, there's already a light in the porch, in the ceiling of the porch.
The ceiling, okay.
So it's a ceiling light. We'll probably put an LED bulb in there, but we didn't plan to put a sconce on the walls.
Okay. I just thought that they were so attractive that it would look nice from the front.
Well, I will say, and this goes back to Mr. Enderby's comments, is we are not touching the aluminum siding. Therefore, it's unlikely we will actually touch the shutters at this point, because I think if we move them around, it's gonna leave shadow lines and all of that kind of stuff. I think maybe at a later date, you know, the homeowners may decide that it's time to replace the aluminum siding or remove it and try to salvage what's underneath, which is likely the original cedar siding. But that's not really part of the project at this moment. So as much as I agree with you about the shutters wholeheartedly, I just don't think that that's part of the project right now. So.
Fair enough.
And in terms of the doorknob, I agree. And I'm not sure if, I mean, if somebody had installed an interior doorknob on there, because I don't believe there's actually a lock associated with that. It's just the deadbolt up above. So I would think that we would probably look to replace that, and likely with something that's brass and a little bit more traditional. That would do a better job of locking the door.
Yeah. All right, is there anyone else that has questions, comments? I just want to note that it seems from concept reviews before, it seems like you've really minimized this addition to where it's going to be hardly noticeable. So it's, I mean, I hope you're doing everything you want to do, but anyway, I think it's going to be quite seamless. Are there other questions? So David, Roger, Tom, Frida already said something, so Tom is saying good.
I'm happy with how this project is turned.
Roger's. I know, it's beautiful.
Good. We think so too.
Well,
Madam
yeah,
Chair?
I hope hope you guys are happy because it looks good. Yes.
Julie, I think maybe you ought to open it, see if there's any public here.
Right. Thank you, said. Elizabeth, do you see anyone in the public that wants to comment?
There are two members, but neither their hands are raised. Maybe you could let them know that it's public comment time if they'd like to make any contributions.
Well, we'll have a separate public comment for other things, but if anyone would like to speak to this project, they should raise their hand. Otherwise, we'll have public comment after the application for other matters.
There are no hands up.
So, okay. So that said, does anyone have a motion?
I move that we approve as presented.
Second.
Okay.
So, sorry, could you?
Thank you, Elric.
Okay. So, well, do you want to just review? So we're just going to comply with all of the requests. We'll keep the chimney coming up out of the roof. We'll keep the existing front door, and then everything else looks fine. Is that what I'm understanding? That we presented in the drawings and the package and everything?
I believe that the commission is also approving the new storm door that's going to go in, correct?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What's that?
And I believe the approval will also be for the new storm door on the front door.
Yeah. Is that included also?
Should be.
Oh, the storm door. Yeah.
Storm door, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll take a vote.
Okay. Ms. Capozzoli. Ms.
Yes.
Capozzoli. Mr. Endersby.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Shore.
Yes.
Mr. Shatskin,
Yes.
motion approved.
I think,
Frida.
don't we need Miss Pyle and Mr. Pyle and Miss Howard too?
No, we have 4.
Or, oh, I got it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I guess
Yeah,
we
for
will,
coming.
thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
Madam Chair,
You're a model project for
So
us.
I guess, yes,
we can send a memo over this week to construction to advise that the application was approved and the applicants can start applying for their construction permits, and they don't have to wait next month for you to do the resolution. We'll send that over this week.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
that's wonderful. Thank you, Ed.
Ed, we'll try to get the resolution sent over to the newspaper tomorrow for this project as well, to help move the project along.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Ed. I think we're good.
Wonderful. Good
Thanks,
news.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll ask the members of the public if anyone wants to comment on anything else.
There's one member
Do you
in
see
the
any
public.
hands raised?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Wow. Well, that is the end of our business. Is there member reports? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. What?
Tonight, before you do we have any comments? The 3 of us who were over at the waste management area last week, or any of those other things since we, no, okay.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I find it a very interesting, I had. no
Aaron,
idea
David, do you want to talk about it?
Sure, we went on this trip to this property that hardly any of us know about. There were some great old buildings. The office building or the pump house building looked like, classic civic architecture from a different time, perhaps created by Ralph Bowen, who did other projects for the town. And then a gigantic building that just strikes me as having so much space and capacity and so much steel in it. I really wish that there was time for a real engineering study to figure out if they could eradicate the parts that are failing and still use the building, some part of that huge building for the 21st century needs. It was a great field trip.
Where is the facility, may I ask?
On River Road. Way back from River Road, big piece of property, right on the Montgomery border. Years ago, there was a house there which came down, I think about 2004 or something. Oh, and before that, maybe 1994. We salvaged the kitchen wing. That was once a Gulick farm, and the kitchen wing wound up on another Gulick farm at the Wojciechowicz's. So it had a nice, it was a good thing. It was a good opportunity to save that least part of it. There's a foundation to a barn there. It brings to mind the fact that we're always looking for stone, and it's a stone foundation. And if it's going to be bulldozed, I'm wondering if there's some opportunity to save this, push the stone over to some central side location. Of even greater interest is the fact that there are slate sidewalk stones and curbs which they have saved over the years, which we ought to make sure continue to be saved or reused as they're required on the few streets that still have those materials. There's a Quonset hut, but it's a wonderful building. I tried to persuade my business partner here to move it here for our storage, but it's a pretty big project. It's all insulated. That little, that building for the pump house, it's an incredibly well-built building, and it does have, has a plaque on it with any number of names that you would recognize, including Bert Gulick and former mayors, vice presidents of the university, one of the sons-in-law to Archibald Russell, the engineering firm, et cetera. And there should be some way of reusing that structure. And finally, I keep looking at the two smokestacks there. And although, David, I know you went down into the cellar, and there have been some issues about whether or not they're properly supported below ground level. But at the very least, I think an engineer should check that out. And it could be a moneymaker, or at least it could be an opportunity not to have something really horrible put up somewhere else. And so far back from the road, nobody would ever see it. So, and I think and they seem perfectly willing to have other people come and look at it. And I think those of you who weren't part of that foray on Friday, Wednesday, should consider it. It's quite interesting.
One thing I want to add, just for clarity, when I went down to that basement level and where we saw a lot of the deterioration, that was not directly under those smokestacks. And that while there may be deterioration there and maybe beyond repair, I think that studying what the foundation situation is under those tall stacks is legitimate for maybe just being able to keep that part of it and putting cell phone towers or whatever in it. I just don't want it to be confused that the foundation part that I saw, or the basement part I saw, was under those stacks. It's different. And I'm not an engineer, but it'd be just fascinating to see what they could study and what selective removal and then retaining some of it could do.
Who owns the property? Is this
Well, I have a question.
municipally owned?
It is. Yeah, I heard a report about this, and thank you all for going out and lending your expertise on this. I heard a report about it at the Public Works Committee meeting on Friday, and got to see a photograph of it as well. And it seems like a building with some real potential. They were saying it's not being used because of mold problems, but it seems like something that should be able to be remediated. And, you know, we have a variety of activities that are planned to be going out there, including some, you know, staff who are going to be located. There's some public works staff who are going to be located there, you know, long term. And it seems like if this is a quality building, they might really enjoy having it be fixed up rather than somebody putting, you know, a trailer or something out there for them to be accommodated long term.
Yeah.
I think the date on the plaque is 1930-31, and it makes sense to me that this is a WPA project. I may be wrong, but it's just very substantially built, and the materials, brick and slate and copper, and there's no legitimate reason, in my view, to remove it. And an opportunity to make it a useful center of what will basically be utilitarian lot there. I think one thing that they could do, among other things, is they're gonna put roofs over so that they can store a lot of municipal vehicles and school vehicles, as I understand it. And it's so far back from the road that it's an opportunity for solar where nobody would be the wiser for a substantial proportion of the buildings sheathed that way.
Is this property one that could conceivably be repurposed so as to relocate, let's say, the public works behind the Harrison Street Fire Station out there so that that property could be redeveloped for affordable housing?
It's a great question, Tom. I think we're just beginning the process of hiring a consultant to take a look at all of our municipal properties and see how we can consolidate municipal staff and, you know, make better use of sites that are underused or totally unused right now. You know, there are a couple of firehouses that are no longer serving as firehouses. And so we're interested in looking at all that. I think the Public Works site that's there on Harrison has some very specific, you know, the big thing is that it's the municipal vehicle repair facility. You know, it's a garage. It was just renovated. And so I think there would be some pushback on leaving that building, but I'll certainly put that idea into the mix.
So I certainly endorse that. I'm sad to hear that it's a municipal repair garage right in the middle of prime residential real estate, but you've already identified that. I might also, just as a personal taxpayer point of view, hope that however this consolidation goes, that consolidation does really occur so that there are more resources freed up for such things as public housing and also tax reduction. So I'm sure you're thinking about that.
Well, it's a huge property out there on River Road. I think it's what, 10 acres?
Yeah. You know, one of the problems, it may be larger than that. I'm not sure exactly how big it is, but River Road is prone to flooding. So locating, now there's a back road that's just a service road. It's like a dirt road that comes to the site from away from River Road. So they're looking at upgrading that road and making it sure that that site is accessible when flooding occurs. But until they figure that out and figure out whether that's really viable, there's a problem with putting critical functions out there because, you know, it's like from the standpoint of needing our equipment to clear down trees and stuff like that. You know, that's happening exactly when flooding is
flooding.
Right. So, yeah, so
Right.
unless there's some significant upgrades to the access to that site, it can't house those kinds of critical emergency functions.
There's a wonderful opportunity for the council here to establish a Princeton Navy to address that particular issue. Right on down the river.
Another
I'm
question.
not sure what to say.
Well, with
Another question for David is, should the Princeton, I hear about all the time, Sustainable Princeton Commission or whatever they are, should they be invited to go out? And again, some of the same things you were just commenting on, what could be fixed or remediated and savings found for the town, but also another chance for Princeton to kind of take the leadership of where we need to be going as a people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have two bodies. One is the Environmental Commission, which is actually a governmental advisory group, kind of like, I mean, not exactly like you guys, because they don't actually have decision-making authority, but they are an advisory group to the council. And then Sustainable Princeton is a nonprofit, but they also do a lot of advising for the municipality. They're the ones who put together the climate action plan.
Right.
Which, you know, so one or both of those, I'm sure will be involved in this facility assessment that I was referring to.
Good.
One other quick comment. About 6 weeks ago, Tom, you and I and Elizabeth took a look at that house on Olden Lane. And I never get down that road, so I hadn't looked at it for a long time. I was incorrect about the the possible ownership anyway by Oppenheimer. What I did, I spotted a date stone on it with initials, and I also saw a lot of features that made me pretty sure it was designed by an architect named Oki, and who is well known for doing this sort of Pennsylvania folk style with all kinds of sort of 18th, early 19th century cliches. There's a book that it includes a lot of those features. Eleanor Raymond, this was published, I think, in 1929. Not only did I discover by going through, I found out where his archives are at the State University of Pennsylvania, State College. I went through the list of drawings and whatever, and they have one for the McCutcheons in Princeton, 1929, which matches up with the initials. And then I discovered in looking at at records for the house that a McCutcheon owned it until he died last October. So I think I think it probably remained in the family throughout that whole period of time. And then the Raymond book, when I opened it up, I discovered that Oki actually wrote the introduction to the book. So it all sort of comes around. But even though here's the house has been sold and that it has a viable future, it's quite remarkable for the architecture and that period. And the fact that the neighbors were concerned in this case proved to be educational, at least for me. So I passed that on.
I'll say for me as well, I was delighted, and please sign me up for any further Elric expeditions or David's destinations. These are wonderful opportunities to learn a ton from, it's like walking through the Sinai desert with Moses. It's amazing. So congrats, sign me up.
Great. So if I can just sort of tie that up, I really appreciate you all.
Well, maybe we'll do
going out.
a barn tour.
Right, exactly.
Appreciate you going out to take a look at that as well. Is there going to be any kind of, do you feel comfortable doing some kind of a write-up of what you found, Elric, to give to?
As time allows, but I certainly can, the sites that I visited, I can make available. And if you don't already have this book, Early Domestic Architecture of Pennsylvania, look it up. Eleanor Raymond is the author. As Oki points out, she was actually an architect in New England, but she's the one who appreciated these things. And the photographs are wonderful because they really are farmsteads with all kinds of outbuildings and features that are just really terrific. And Oki is a very interesting guy. He did Pensbury Manor and the Betsy Ross House and all kinds of other things in Pennsylvania. I think his work in New Jersey, even though he was born, I think, in Camden, is far less, there's far less of it. Anyway.
But so just say one more time, it sounded, what era do you think this particular house is from?
The house is, the date stone says 1928, and this presumably his son, same name, but I think a different generation, died in October at the age of 90 something. He was born the following year in 1929.
What property we're talking about?
It's a house.
The Olden house. The Olden
Olden
property.
house.
89 Olden.
Picket fence along the stone and picket fence across on Olden.
Yep.
And it's even the wallpapers and whatever. I can't imagine Oppenheimer like living with those wallpapers, but it's pretty terrific. And then the funny thing is to find features that are exhibited there, which come directly out of this book, which he obviously knew pretty well.
Okay.
Sorry to prolong this meeting, but they've been two very interesting things for me in the last couple of months, as opposed.
Well, it was such a short meeting compared to what they usually are. So
Lucky.
All right. So Elizabeth, when's our next meeting?
July 19th.
Okay.
When do we move back to the municipal building?
In person. Yeah, exactly.
David Cohen, do you have any idea how long we'll be continuing with what the municipal
So,
policy might be?
you know, I haven't heard anybody talking about it until today. I was in a meeting this morning of traffic safety, and Deanna said staff's been talking about it like maybe in the fall, in September, that some of these meetings will start happening again in person. But I think, yeah, I mean, the municipal building is open now. So there's really no reason, if the group is interested in meeting in person instead of by Zoom, that we couldn't accommodate that, I think. Elizabeth, I mean, from the staff perspective, if people are vaccinated and stuff, is there any reason not to get a meeting in person?
I haven't really heard much about people moving forward because I know I asked Michael about this. Was the planning board actually thinking about that?
You're fading out, sorry.
I'm sorry. I did ask Michael Laplace about if the planning board was planning on, and he said, no, there's been no discussion about it. So I guess, we're in room A. And so when we have staff meetings, we usually sit every other seat. If that would be the protocol, we couldn't be in that room because
Right.
we couldn't be spaced every other seat and have enough for us and then have the applicant come up. So we'd probably have to move to like the main meeting room or something if that was going to be the protocol.
Right. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think, one of the great things about Zoom is that it's so much more accessible for the public, for them to be able to join who oftentimes couldn't come because it was at the wrong time of night. They didn't have someone to take care of their children. If they had children, it was too late for them to drive. So I'm just wondering if they do in person, will they still make it available for Zoom for them to join in that way as well?
So that's a key question. I'm really committed to doing that, to having hybrid meetings because of the ease of participation with the Zoom. And I think that's part of what's holding up forward motion, because nobody's really sure what the technology is for holding a hybrid meeting. How do you do it so that somebody who raises their hand at home and wants to testify can actually be seen and heard by the members of the public who are actually in the meeting, and vice versa? How do you make sure that somebody who's testifying in the public, that's a little bit easier because you can just have them come up to the podium and make sure that somebody's operating the camera and can turn the camera to somebody who's testifying in the meeting room. But the technology for people at home to be heard by everybody is maybe a little bit more challenging. So we have to figure that out. And I think nobody has wanted to take the bull by the horns and figure that out yet. So
I have a thought to offer you on that particular score. The technology is presumably there because in the courts, of course, people are testifying over the internet into the court, publicly viewed, and there is technology to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm very eager for us to get back to normal, meaning face to face. However, I think we learned something from this Zoom experience, that this Zoom forum is actually pretty effective, it seems to me, particularly when we're dealing with these very long meetings and where a lot of people are waiting and so on. So I might suggest, rather than think about a hybrid approach, consider an alternating approach where we are meeting once a quarter face to face or whatever, or once a half year, so as to keep it vital and personal, but make full use of the Zoom facility as appropriate so that more people can be accommodated for the very reasons that were just mentioned. Elders not able to drive at night, people waiting to get involved, being able to wait in the comfort of their own homes and so on. So I think we have, with COVID, discovered that the technology can actually be to our benefit here.
Yeah.
I was
David?
gonna ask David if the municipality knows or actually could study minutes to find out whether commission member participation amongst all different commissions that meet has been higher or lower compared to the year before. Just
That's a good
interesting.
point.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
it'd be interesting to look back. I feel quite confident that participation would be higher because people have been able to participate from a distance. I've been in many meetings where a council member, who is out of town, was able to Zoom in for a council meeting and
Worked for me from the DR.
Exactly. You know
Right.
anybody from the Dominican Republic who has been dialing in?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm almost positive the attendance has been better with Zoom for sure. But be interesting to get the data.
Yeah.
Right.
Motion to,
All right. Well,
Be thinking about that Brownwater Navy, Counselor Cohen.
right. Princeton Navy.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait.
I know PFARS does have a rescue boat.
Okay.
First
I
Aid
can
and
see us
Rescue Squad
paddling-
has a boat, so.
Rowing on down River Road.
And it is
Well,
coming on a hurricane season.
That's right. Good.
All right.
All right.
So David,
move
you
to
made a
adjourn.
motion.
I sure did. Motion to retire or whatever this is.
Adjourn.
Retire.
Adjourn.
And there's a
Tom
second.
seconded.
If I can, as an alternate.
Okay, great.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All
Good to
right.
see you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Aye and
Good
bye.
to see you. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye.